We bid you welcome, who come with weary spirit seeking rest, who come with troubles that are too much with you, who come hurt and afraid. We bid you welcome, who come with hope in your hearts, who come with anticipation in your step, who come proud and joyous. We bid you welcome, those who are seekers of a new faith, who come to probe and explore, who come to learn. We bid you welcome, those who enter this hall as a homecoming, who have found here room for your spirit, who find in this people a family. Whoever you are, whatever you are, wherever you may be on life's journey, we bid you welcome. The words of the Reverend Richard Gilbert, and I add my own words of welcome. I'm the Reverend Manish, Mishra-Marzetti, serving our community, the First Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Ann Arbor, Michigan, as senior minister. Our community has been gathering here locally in the city of Ann Arbor continuously since the year 1865, offering our region, our state, and the wider world a progressive vision of what it can be to be together as a people committed to a shared path of spirituality, of ethics, of bringing alive the very best inside each and every one of us in our own community and the wider world. To all of that hope and dreams, that sense of aspiration, we warmly gather this morning and enter into a time of shared reflection, meditation, shared ceremony and ritual on this particular Sunday. If you are newer to our community, we especially extend to you a warm sense of welcome and encourage you to join us if you're with us in person after the service in what's called the Jackson Chapel, which is immediately to your right as you exit the sanctuary, for an opportunity to meet members of our community who can be present to you and greet you and answer questions. As our time together deepens this Sunday, it's my privilege to introduce you to your chancel team, which includes myself, Reverend Manish Mishra-Marzetti, Reverend Theresa rohlck, our Congregational Chaplain, Carter Smith, our Acting Director of Music Ministries, Allison Halerz, our Pianist-in-Residence, Mike Halerz, our Technological Consultant, and members of the Chalice Singers from whom we've already had the great privilege of being able to hear. Thank you for sharing your gift of song with us this morning. That includes Toni Wander, Keleigh Anders, Jim Breck, and Michael Hartley. As we move deeper into the winter season, and it's the first Sunday of November, we are beginning with this particular Sunday in person our winter safety protocols for the pandemic era. That includes, noticeably, there'll be a couple of things that are different for those of us who are gathered here together in person. When you exit, we've gotten used to having some coffee and donuts in the church's lawn. That won't be happening. There won't be coffee service, but we invite you to please grab one of our Washtenaw Dairy donuts. As you're exiting the property, they'll be available, and you can either enjoy that in the parking lot or take them with you to go. We are, on this particular Sunday, gathering the spirit of what's known in some traditions as All Souls, in honoring of those beings, those individuals who are deceased, no longer with us. I'll say a few words about that in just a moment, but that will include the opportunity after the service in the social hall. There will be members of our pastoral care team available, and if you would like a few opportunities to be present with others from our community in a supportive context, such an opportunity will be available to you. Next Sunday, as we head deeper into November, on the 14th, Our community is beginning the first of what will be 3, we're calling them gathering tables. They are opportunities for our community to begin thinking through and planning together how we'd like to bring alive our sense of vision and possibility for the future, how our community would like to make a difference. The first of these gathering tables will be focused on the topic of climate change and environmental justice. It'll be a virtual gathering taking place at 2:30 in the afternoon next Sunday. All ages are welcome. Please refer to your congregational communications for the necessary information, links, etc., on how you can participate and join. As we continue moving more deeply into this time together today, as I mentioned, we'll be remembering and honoring those beings that have been beloved to us, potentially animal friends, other human beings that have made a very positive difference in our lives. For those that may be joining us from home or other parts of the state or world, we invite you to keep nearby a candle that you might be able to light as we are in ceremony and ritual here in the sanctuary. And you can do so either through a candle or through the presence of a stone. And when we get to that part of the service, you'll hear more about how we'll be joining in that ritual, and you can join in that ritual with us as well. I now invite us to continue deepening our sense of presence to one another in our hearts, our sense of grounding, as we move more deeply into our time together this Sunday. Once again, welcome.
As we do each week, we begin our time together by lighting a chalice. And today I invite Spencer Thomas to come up and help us with that. The chalice is a symbol of our faith tradition, and it reminds us that there is a divine spark of light within each of us. If you would, join me in speaking our chalice lighting words together. We light this chalice for the light of truth. We light this chalice for the warmth of love. We light this chalice for the energy of action. We light this chalice for the harmony of peace. Thank you. We also each week begin with our covenant. Covenant is the promises we make to each other about how we want to be in relationship with each other. And the beautiful thing about the covenant is when we fall out of it, we can come back to it in love. I invite you to speak our covenant words together. The spirit of this church is love, and service is its law. This is our covenant with each other, to dwell together in peace, to search for truth in love, and to help one another. Once a month, usually the first Sunday of the month, we share the collection with a local organization. Today, that is for Alpha House and Interfaith Hospitality Network. Zach Crutchfield is the volunteer coordinator there, and he's unable to be with us this morning, so I'm going to read you the words that he has prepared for this. More than providing just a bed and a roof, our goal at Interfaith Hospitality Network is to support families in securing and maintaining their own home, as well as helping them gain financial security and independence. 87% of homeless children move, often up to 3 times in a single year, which means changing teachers and schools. It's not surprising that they fall behind academically as well as socially. At Alpha House, we assure children have the support they need while at the shelter and during the transition back into permanent housing. IHN was established in 1992 to provide shelter and support to homeless and at-risk families. We serve over 40 families a year, up to 6 at a time in our shelter, Alpha House, and an additional 20 to 30 families in our home-based support program. IHN provides intensive support services to address each family's individual needs and help them overcome barriers to securing permanent housing. Our Housing First program begins with assisting each family to identify goals and objectives to move towards housing stability. Families may also set their own individual goals outside of these program-specific ones. IHN is truly a community response to homelessness. Each year, over 2,500 volunteers from local congregations, including this one, as well as community groups and businesses, support the shelter by cooking and serving meals, playing with the children, providing support and mentorship to adults, and performing all of the shelter maintenance. Every volunteer reminds our families that they are not alone in their struggles. We truly could not do this without you, and we thank you so much for all of your support.
Thank you, Reverend Theresa, for sharing this important information with us this morning. As you've just heard, our support can go a long way towards helping the Interfaith Hospitality Network continue their impactful work in our community. Please take a moment and consider what you are able to give to this organization that touches so many. If your gift is a financial one, I would invite you to text UUAA to 73256 and select Share Collection for the fund. You can also visit uuaa.org/giving or place your offering in the baskets on the way out. Thank you on behalf of IHN and Alpha House for your generosity. And now I invite you to rise in body or spirit as we dedicate our offering. Will you join me in our words of dedication? To the work of this congregation, which is weaving a tapestry of love and action, we dedicate our lives and these our offerings. Thank you.
We take time now to honor those from our UUAA community who have died in the past 2 years, recognizing that the pandemic limited our ability to engage in this ritual last year. We begin by kindling our candle of memory. This candle holds in its flame all those we have named and remembered in our past ceremonies. To the list of memory, we will add the names from these past 2 years. As these names are read aloud, we will light a candle for each one. We will also place a stone for each one named in the bowl that holds water gathered from our water communion ceremony. Later, these stones will be placed outside in the area around our memorial garden.
"28 among us have died since we last lit memory candles. They are known to us. They are loved by us. They are remembered by us." Marion Horowitz. Guala Lozana. Larry Crockett. Bev Todd. Ethel Potts. Stan Tischler. Don McMullen. Marcia McMullen. Garland Lewis. Bill Lewis. Joanna Courteau. Tom Wilson. Mark Doman. Kathleen Russell. Eileen Rogers. Dan Ayers. Victor Ola. John Frank. Barbara Smith. Shirley Gallagher. Diane Bald. Erwin Goldstein. Robert Reed. Pat Runyon. Joan Walker. Jim Williston. Betty Quackenbush. Carrie Mack. Known to us, loved by us, remembered by us. Blessed be.
If you would join us now in a responsive reading, the words of Rabbi Roland Gittleson. In this litany, we remember these 28 and others dear to us who are no longer with us but remain in our hearts. Please respond to each line that we read with the words, "We remember them."
In the rising of the sun and in its going down, we remember them.
In the blowing of the wind and in the chill of winter, we remember them.
In the opening of buds and in the rebirth of spring, we remember them.
In the blueness of the sky and in the warmth of summer, we remember them.
In the rustling of the leaves and in the beauty of autumn, we remember them.
In the beginning of the year and when it ends, we remember them.
When we are weary and in need of strength, we remember them.
When we are lost and sick at heart, we remember them.
When we have joys we yearn to share, we remember them. So long as we live, they too shall live, for they are now a part of all who have known them. People in Mexico, Latin America, and some communities in the United States celebrated the Day of the Dead, or Dia de Muertos, on November 2nd. It is a holiday of remembrance and community. It's when people spend time with the memories of those who came before, but also celebrate their lives. The traditional way of celebrating is by making an ofrenda, an offering that usually includes a photo of the person being remembered, candles, food, and items specific to them. Many cultures around the world have rituals and specific days or times of year dedicated to remembering ancestors. We, as a congregation, have created rituals to hold the memories we have of our ancestors. We do this collectively each year in November, around the time of All Souls Day, by building a memory altar. Certainly for some, the word altar conjures a Christian context, a place in the center of the chancel upon which offerings are made or incense is burned, and where bread and wine is used in Holy Communion. When I was quite young, I would accompany my mother on a Saturday to prepare the altar for Sunday morning worship at my childhood Lutheran church. My mom was on the altar guild, and while much of what she did seemed mysterious, I always loved being in the sacristy, the space just off the chancel. It was special. It felt holy, and not everyone had access to it. All the liturgical items needed for worship were there. I think I intuited that there was a sacredness to that space and the work that she did. The definition of an altar as simply a table or place which serves as a center for worship or ritual resonates with me at this point in my life. And what I love about our Unitarian Universalist take on altar is this: it's what you see before you. It is very literally a table, and it is a center for ritual, and it's accessible to all of us. There's nothing secret or reserved for only a select few. It embodies the sense of community and connection we aspire to every day. To me, it is a sacred space. Our altar already has a few things on it: water, stones, flowers. We have created the ritual space that you will help complete. In a moment, you will be invited by the ushers to come up row by row, and you'll come up these aisles and go back around on the sides. You're welcome to place a photo or another item on the altar if you wish. If you did not bring something, you are still welcome to come forward, and you can write a name or a memory on the paper that is provided. And whether or not you brought something, you are all invited to place a stone in one of the bowls at the end of each table, speaking the name of someone you are remembering. Our children are participating in a similar ritual with the stones in their classrooms, and the stones they offer in memory of a pet or friend or relative who has died will be added to these. And while the younger among us are not yet able to be physically present in this space, we know we are connected to them through this common ritual. And if you are joining from home, I hope you will create a sacred space, a personal altar, maybe in front of your chalice or a candle, and place a photo of remembrance there. And if you have a stone you are placing on your altar and would like to add it to these stones, there will be a place in the entryway to the church where you can drop it off in the coming weeks, and it will be included when we bring the stones out to the memorial garden. So let us begin, being mindful not to crowd each other at the table. The ushers will indicate when you may approach the front, and please take the time you need at the memory altar. known to us, loved by us, remembered by us. It has been a particularly challenging 20 months, having to grieve our personal losses, unable to gather with our beloved community in person. That we are slowly beginning to gather in person again is reason for hope and gratitude. We have one more candle now that calls us to remember the over 5 million deaths from COVID-19 worldwide since the start of the pandemic close to 2 years ago. It is almost an incomprehensible number, one that is surely much larger and continues to grow. Each death is an individual worthy of being remembered. Let us remember them by holding a moment of silence.
Known by us, loved by us, remembered by us. There is a profound beauty in the simple act of coming together, being able to be together, in the honoring and remembering that we do today. For these past almost 2 years, I dare say each and every one of us here, wherever we may be joining virtually, each and every one of us has known losses and sacrifices of various kinds that have felt almost interminable in what they have needed from us. And in that intensity of experience and need, side by side, feeling very, very alone at times, with the imposed on us isolation and distance. There's a simple beauty, profound beauty, to the fact that on this day, we come together in part as a reminder that none of us need be alone in holding, navigating, feeling what life needs from us. This particular Sunday, as we do all of that and so much more, I've been reflecting on my many years of being present to these types of co-creative moments in multiple Unitarian Universalist communities. And how for me, as that experience has deepened over years, I'm so moved by a word I'm going to say, and then I'll say a bit more about it. I'm moved by this process of invocation. What is an invocation? Invoking. It's bringing our own fullness of presence to something. And it's also a presencing, inviting something or sets of things to be fully present to us. In the context of memory altars, what in some traditions is referred to as All Souls and All Souls honoring, and All Souls Day. We're invoking the very depth of memory, of love as it has lived and continues to live in our hearts, of experiences that have been shared across time, across lives. In those cases when those memories, experiences, love also hold the reality of experiences of death, we're talking about echoes, very real echoes of the past. Echoes that vividly bring alive for us in the present the dearness and meaningfulness of what we want to continue remembering and holding alive. Some of you know I like to play around with concepts, and I've been toying around in recent weeks with this for me. There might be some UU interpretation, Unitarian Universalist interpretation of the concept of ghosts, not the spectral, supernatural kind of movies, but these echoes, these very real, vivid, tangible, meaningful echoes of our past. Look at how we do it, how we're in relationship with the echoes of memory, experience, and love. In an invocation such as this, we are always, almost always, and I know this from experience with us Unitarian Universalists in community, we're invoking, remembering, holding precious in our hearts the very best of what these relationships have been with all kinds of beings, which include dogs, cats, other animals, and human beings. And even as we invoke and remember the very best of what those relationships have been, none of us is doing so naively. With the human relationships, we're very aware that there have been painful missteps and mistakes at times. Words that have unintentionally or intentionally wounded. Mistakes, pains, wounds, no human being, living or deceased, escapes from those realities, those imperfections of our experience. And yet, at a moment of invocation, such as this, notice that a settling naturally occurs. Those pains, wounds, mistakes, disappointments across the experience of death, they settle like sediment in a water, just settling to finding its rightful place somewhere in the bottom. And the beauty, the meaning, the inspiration, the love shared, lifting up, gaining a weightier proportion of our honoring, our remembrance, what we hold, what we continue to hold, what endures. It's like this. It's not an erasing. I know as you use, it's not an erasing of the things that may have gone wrong at times, but it is a settling of it as we find our way to honoring and celebrating the things that were always beautiful, deeply moving about the connections with our loved ones. This process, the settling and the amplifying of the beauty and meaning, it's a way of building ongoing relationship. If any of you have ever attended a memorial service where I have been present or leading or guiding that time, it's something I always speak to. It's the physical body, it's the physical form, the physical connection that ends with death, not relationship. How could it? We would have to go back and erase our own pasts, edit them out somehow. Edit out all the experiences and connections with somebody. That's not even possible. So relationship in some way, shape, or form endures past physical connection. And as we find our way to it, to what that ongoing connection is going to look and feel like, look at the beauty of this, what we naturally do. We allow the little bruises to the ego, the slights, the misspoken words, the things that went haywire, that may have hurt us, we just allow them to settle. Not erased, just settling, and the love and the beauty amplifying, getting turned up in volume. This is one of the ways relationship and the most meaningful aspects of relationship endures across time, endures across physical connection. This is also a week in which something like 1/8 of the world's population, probably a bit more than that, honored and celebrated the Hindu New Year known as Diwali. The symbolism of that experience capturing a returning of goodness, of possibility, as is often symbolized in any New Year celebration. What might these collective loved ones inspire us to remember by way of possibility, those of us who are living, even as we hold them dear, continue holding them dear? I found myself wondering, why is it that we human beings wait for death to allow that settling process to happen? So tightly holding on to the disappointments and the bruised egos and the words misspoken and the things gotten wrong while we're still alive and present to one another. An invocation such as this is a reminder of the natural processes we move through as human beings. Couldn't we engage in some of those processes with one another while we're still alive? Isn't that the work for us with one another, those who are still here? Now, I'm well aware this is not possible in every human relationship. There are, of course, some where so much harm, so much pain has been caused, it would neither be appropriate nor healthy to minimize, ignore some of that harm. Some relationships appropriately are boundaried. And yet, with those rare exceptions that may exist in any of our lives, there are all these other relationships, I'd say the vast majority of relationships for most of us, where we can bring grace and graciousness to bear, where we can recall, while our loved ones, other loved ones, are still with us and alive and present, how deeply meaningful, loving, insightful, caring those connections are. On this occasion of invocation, of recalling, remembering, celebrating, and holding dear, may we also continue to hold what may still be possible, what our loved ones themselves would want us to hold is possible in the living connections that endure here and now. May it be so for each of us.
died have never, never left. The dead have a pact with the living. They are in the woman's breast. They are in the wearing child. They are with us in our homes. They are with us in this crowd. The dead have a pact with the living. So listen more often to things than to beings. Listen more often to things than to beings. 'Tis the ancestors' breath when the fire's voice is heard. 'Tis the ancestors' breath in the voice of the waters. Sound, sound, sound.
Dear ones, at the end of the service, you may return to the altar to gather any items you left. Our candles remind us that it is in our naming and remembering those we love that they live on. In the fire's voice, we hear our ancestors' breath. The altars remind us that we maintain connection with those who have come before. Those who have died have never, never left. Sharing the stories of those who are represented here in the photos and the stones, the bracelet and the paw print, the candy and the words and memories written on paper. That sharing is essential to healing, and you will know when you are ready to share those stories. And if it is today, and if these rituals give you courage to do so, remember, you are in the company of those who wish you well. This is your community. These are the people who want to remember with you. Go now in peace, knowing deep into your bones that you are not alone. You are loved, and together we remember. Amen, and may it be so.